And we are rolling on October 19th, a Thursday, where the sun is not shining at UCLA. So I guess it's not the paradise we claim it to be. We're about to hear from Justin, who is going to share with us a film that really moved him. And I have a timer, so I'm golden.
This is 5 minutes?
Yes.
I'm Justin.
Hi, Justin.
There's a community in Manhattan that very few white people set foot into. They are known to be, at least among white people, at least among other Americans, they're known to be kind of shady. But we're not talking about black people in Ferguson, Missouri, or in St. Louis, or in other racially tense places like Charlottesville. We're talking about Chinatown in Manhattan. One film that really moved me is titled Abacus, Small Enough to Jail, which talks about a small Chinese bank, which was the only bank in the 2008 financial crisis to be prosecuted for mortgage fraud, even though they did very little wrong. This movie made me feel shame first, and then it made me feel anger, and then finally it made me feel hopeful. A film reviewer says that this film compels us to consider and emotionally and visually conceptualize the consequences of systematic injustice, and I wholeheartedly agree. And not only does it do that, it also forces us to consider whether we will fight injustice only for particular groups of people, or whether we will fight injustice for all groups of people. This movie first made me feel shame. There was a scene in the movie where a man who immigrated to the United States when he was 16 years old, he went to law school, and after law school, instead of pursuing a prestigious career in law, in big law, where he would be making six figures, he decided to go back to Chinatown to serve his people. He felt pride walking through the streets of Chinatown and pointed out one of the Chinese associations that he had represented for years, and he watched with tears in his eyes a performance of a Chinese opera there. I felt shame when I watched this because, reflecting back on my own life, I never embraced my Chinese culture, and I would rather have nothing to do with them at times in my past. I would be scared to bring home white friends because I would be ashamed of eating rice all the time, and my parents not speaking perfect English. So when I saw this movie, I felt ashamed because I did not have compassion on the people of my parents. My parents were immigrants as well, and I had no compassion on them. But this man, even after he had a successful career in front of him, he decided to go serve his people. The second way this movie made me feel was angry. This movie follows the trial of this bank that was prosecuted in the midst of the 2008 financial crisis. And it was the only bank that was prosecuted, and the prosecutors systematically singled out Chinese immigrants to get them to try to incriminate the bank. These Chinese immigrants barely spoke any English, and it reminded me of an incident my dad told me about, where he used to be a teaching assistant at a university as a graduate student, and he could barely speak English. So students would regularly accuse him of racism and of being a horrible teacher because of his English, and he would get low marks because of that. This angered me. This scene in the movie angered me because it reminded me of the injustice my father faced as a Chinese immigrant. Finally, this movie made me feel hopeful. It made me feel hopeful because of a scene where they were finally vindicated by the court. On all 80 counts of their criminal indictment, the jury declared them not guilty. This made me feel hopeful because my parents came to the United States to escape the limited opportunities they had in Hong Kong. They were both teachers there, and that was the only job that they could have. So they came to the United States in dire poverty and worked their way to the top. They struggled for years, and when they couldn't find a job, they went back to school, even though they had to raise children as well. And this made me hopeful. This scene made me hopeful. This vindication made me feel hopeful, because it showed me that the American dream is still alive, that people who come to America to build a better future for themselves, their dreams aren't yet over. They can still find justice here, and they can still find a better life here. This movie forces us to consider the ways that we fight injustice. Do we fight injustice only for those who politically benefit us, for those whose votes we need, or do we also fight injustice for those who cannot speak English, for other communities? In conclusion, this film made me feel shame at one point. This film made me feel anger at one point. And finally, it made me feel hopeful that the American dream could still be attained.
Okay. Start on the right. Hi, Brianna.
I thought your voice was very composed, and I was clear as to the emotions you were feeling, so I think you did a really good job. And your examples were really good.
Thank you. Let your hands dangle by your side. Yes, please.
Hi, Eris.
Hi, Eris.
It was really good. I really enjoyed it, especially tying it back to like your own personal experience. You paused a little bit every once in a while, so I thought you might have been trying to remember what you had on paper. So just a little more like talking
Fluency.
extemporaneously.
Yeah. Good. She got the message, Eris did. Yes. Well, this was a good speech, and thank you for opening up and being the first one. I liked what you did. Let me give you some feedback. First thing I want to say is, on your outline, you left out Roman numeral 3, the significant statement on your outline. And I was looking for the, the Chicago style for the footnote. And that means you put the footnote on the first page at the bottom. Okay? So, everyone remember footnote at the bottom of the page and a bibliography. Does everyone hear that? Footnote at the bottom of the first page and a bibliography. Mm-hmm. So, take note and you'll be fine. Yeah. Well, you started with an interesting introduction about a tight-knit community in Manhattan. You said it wasn't Ferguson, but and you singled out white people for their scorn, and you said it was the yellow people in Chinatown, Manhattan, right? So that was your most vivid image, and I was wondering what you were going to talk about in your tieback. And so I was looking for some reference to the yellow people of Manhattan need not fear, because even though the white people run the justice system, they still can get justice or something clever like that, okay? But a more vivid tieback, Justin, so we know we've come the full circle. But it was a catchy intro, and it was I was wondering where you were going to go with it. Okay? On your thesis, you clearly stated the film's name, which is important because people want to know, what's the film again? What's the film again? And when people don't say it or they slur it quickly, then that hurts your credibility. And so it's helpful to sort of give a little extra emphasis to your film name, Abacus, small enough to jail, and give a little extra oompah to your narrative, ashamed and furious and hopeful. And you did that when you were going through the presentation, so that was good, so we could easily follow, you see. So your voice helps your audience follow your narrative. You quoted Argun Uljan nicely, and you notice that he agreed with the quote, which is important. I want to make sure you all noted that. That was perfect. That's what I wanted you to do. And so you followed the instructions perfectly there, Justin. On the main body, the first emotion was shame. What was the time, by the way?
5:29.
5:29, yeah. So a little bit over. And where, if you find yourself going over and you need to edit or cut plot summary. Because I think we didn't need, especially in the first one, we didn't quite need all the details of the plot summary there. Just that someone went to law school, instead of taking a six-figure job, went back to Chinatown and was private and service people. And then you can go into the fact how you were ashamed of being Chinese, of your parents. You didn't bring people home because they didn't speak good English. And we ate rice, white rice, I guess you said. That was good. Now, the only thing, if you'll notice, and if you'll go back to the Ferguson example, I ask, and this is important, everybody note this, at the end of your presentation of your first emotion, say it again. And that's why I felt shame. Okay? So there's no doubt in the room that the audience knows what emotion you're re-feeling. Okay? And then you say, but besides shame, the film also made me angry. So you get kind of a running narrative, a placeholder for your audience. You gave the example of the market crash, and that plot summary was pretty good, nice and short. But it angered you because it reminded you of the discrimination that your father faced as a math instructor or a TA when his English was bad and the other students accused him of favoring the Chinese students, I guess, or the Asian students, I don't know, whatever it is. And I would like a little bit more remembering of the anger you felt, so we get it, we feel it, and again return to and that's why I felt angry. Yeah. On the third emotion, hopeful. Yeah. You gave us the situation of the jury vindicating the bank, not guilty, and you spoke with pride of your parents working hard and pulling themselves up and living the American dream and making it come alive. And you need to say, and you were good, and this reminds me of the perseverance, and you said it makes me feel hopeful. Stress that word. I'm feeling hopeful. That's there. Summary. Say the word summary, not conclusion. In conclusion, there should be no doubt in this room that Abacus, Small Enough to Fail, say the title again, really did move me. And then I told you about the tieback. Now, one other thing I want you all to notice, and especially the A's that are going today, at the bottom of your prompt, there was a little three-liner that said CANI. Probably didn't explain what that acronym meant, right? What does CANEI stand for? I guess I did explain it. Constant and never, thank you so much. Thank you. constant and never-ending improvement. And so I ask that you put 3 speech goals that you want to achieve. I want to speak louder. I want to move more fluently. I want to make better eye contact. And I don't see goals here. And so the other 2 A's that are going today, if you don't have goals, write them in right now. Yeah. So just to give them a moment or 2 to do that. Did you have some goals in mind?
Yes, from the last speech, my hand motions were kind of distracting.
Yeah.
And I was pinching myself.
Right.
The second one was I used a lot of filler words in my previous speech. And then the third one was that I didn't state it clearly at the beginning of each paragraph last time.
Good. I would say you did a better job of all 3. I would say watch and pay attention of the 3 times you watch yourself. Watch yourself 1 time and just watch your hands. You're still doing a little of this and an occasional steepling, so be careful about that. But just, your hands tend to really want to come together, and instead of being out there loose and just ready to do it. Overall, a good job. You broke the ice. Thank you for being the first one to go. Thank you. Okay. That will bring us to Iris. Iris Lee. Hi, Iris. How you doing? Good. Okay, just so you know, Iris has her footnote on the first page. Nice, thank you. Come on, foot forward, yeah, and be in the power stance. Yeah, that's good, yeah. Okay, let me adjust the camera since you're a different height than Justin. Yes. Okay. Are you ready, sir? Yeah. Iris stands before you, managing attention, communicating respect, saying to herself, I really respect my audience and really mean it. Finding friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say your name. Feel the love. Start your speech.
My name is Iris.
Hi, Iris.
Hi. Imagine you stumble into an old amusement park and your parents are turned into hogs and you're terrified, so you run, but there's no way out. And soon it gets dark and you're surrounded by spirits and supernatural beings. Would you break down and give up, or would you tackle everything that comes your way and be determined to survive? I want to share with you one of my favorite films. It's called Spirited Away. It's a 2001 Japanese animated film by Hayao Miyazaki. This film makes me feel scared, sad, and hopeful. Kenneth Turan from the Los Angeles Times also states that Spirited Away is a film that manages in a casual, offhanded way to communicate respect. Offhanded way manages to talk about power of love and friendship in his film. And I agree with him that this film does move hearts through its themes of love and friendship.
Perfect.
So first I want to share with you that this film made me feel scared. Chihiro was a 10-year-old girl, and she was stuck in a spirit world, and she had to find a job at a bathhouse in order to survive. She was on her way down these long wooden stairs because she had to make her way to Kamaji, the boiler man, in order to ask him for work. On her way down, she slipped, and she started running, her arms in the air, and she was like screaming for her life. And this scene made me feel scared because it reminded me of the time when I also lost control of my running and I almost fell. So when this happened was a couple months ago. I have huge mountains in my backyard and a lot of flowers grow on there. So one day I decided to go collect some flowers. So I told my siblings, you guys wait at the bottom. I'm going to go up, get some flowers for us, and I'll come back down. So I went up, I collected some flowers, but looking down, the mountain was way higher and like steeper, and I could see my little siblings as like tiny figures down there, and I was scared. I started making my way down, but stupid me, I was wearing sandals on that mountain, and it was like a dirt mountain, so my foot slipped. So I started running, and you know that feeling when you have no control when you run? I was just running, my speed was increasing, gravity was just pushing me from behind, and I couldn't stop myself, and I was so scared because I knew that at any moment I was going to lose control and I was just going to fall on my face, or in the worst scenario, I can like fall off the mountain and die. So I was really scared. So the second way that this film made me feel was it made me feel sad. Chihiro lost her parents because they turned into pigs, and she was trying her best to adapt to her new environment at the bathhouse. I could relate to her because she was trying to stay strong, but she broke down when her friend Haku was like comforting her, and it reminded me of the time when I also tried hard to stay strong during my times of sorrow. And it reminded me of the night when my grandpa passed away, and I woke up to the sound of my dad just calling for my grandpa, telling him to wake up, and I knew something was wrong. So I got out of bed, I walked to his room, and he was lying there, and oh my goodness. And my parents were like shaking hands, telling him to wake up, and I had a really hard time getting used to a life without him, because I felt his missing presence everywhere, but I knew I had to stay strong for my dad, because he ultimately lost his father, and he was trying to like get ready for the funeral and stuff. But after the funeral, my parents hugged me, and they asked me like, are you okay? And that was when I just like broke down into tears, and I was like, you know, it just exploded. So that scene, when Chihiro also like exploded, it just like reminded me of like how hard it is to contain your emotions, and yeah. So the third way that this film made me feel was hopeful, because Chihiro made many friends during her time at the spirit world, and because of them she was able to find hope and to find her strength to move on. It reminded me that I also have friends and people that are by my side to help me through times of trouble, and it made me feel hopeful. I remember I stressed out a lot about a couple of relationships and just stressing about my future and stuff, but one day my friend texted me and he asked me, like, Iris, are you okay? And I was honestly feeling very alone, I was feeling very lost, but when he asked me that, I told him what I was feeling, what I was thinking, and he actually took his day off work the next day to drive from San Fernando Valley to LA to talk to me and just comfort me. So that reminded me that I have special people in my life who just give me hope to find the strength to strive on and just get through anything that might come my way. So in summary, this film, Spirited Away, made me feel scared, sad, and hopeful. It made me scared of the time I was running like a crazy woman down the mountain. It made me feel sad about my grandpa passing away, and it made me feel hopeful that no matter what, I do have people by my side who are there for me. So if I was abandoned in an old amusement park and there were spirits and ghosts there, I would be terribly sad and scared. But if I found love and friendship in that place of darkness, I think I can manage, and I think I would be able to have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Justin.
Hi, Justin.
I think you managed very well when you had emotions and you kept going and didn't let that stop you.
Yes, I'm going to talk about that because sometimes when we do our felt sensing in a genuine way, we really go back to the moment as Iris did and got those feelings she felt when her grandfather passed. Her father was crying. Sometimes we're almost tempted to cry, or we do. And what I say is, what I want you to do is try to keep it going. And it's like walking the razor's edge. Is anybody using an old metaphor, because I don't think there's even razors around anymore. Does anyone know what the edge of a razor looks like? What does it look like? Sam? He doesn't know. Okay, you don't shave? Okay. Anybody shave anymore with a razor?
Like a straight razor?
Why? Or shit, or yeah. Does anybody know what a razor blade looks like? How thin is the edge?
Very thin.
Thank you. How hard would it be to walk on the edge of a razor? Very hard. And yet I've instructed you to walk the razor's edge. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that you walk the razor's edge between rationality and emotionality, and between logos and pathos, to use Aristotle's term. And so, if you find yourself falling off, as Iris almost did, into complete pathos, you heard her say, "Oh my goodness," and she got it back and kept it going. That's what you want to do. You don't want to be the other extreme where you just give this speech like a robot with no pathos, no emotion, no felt sensing, because that you're not going to do the assignment and make an emotional connection with your audience. When she was feeling her emotions, we could feel it too. So the lesson I want you, and the metaphor I want you to remember about emotions in this speech is walk the razor's edge. Did you have a question, or am I boring you? You're just tired. Okay. Didn't get enough sleep last night. All right. Yes, please.
Oh, okay.
How
Matthew.
can Iris improve? Matthew. Iris, can you not be against the board? We're not going to hurt you. We're here to help you. So come a step forward, please. Yeah, thank you. Because when you back up to speak against the board like that, you give off a nonverbal feeling that you're trying to get out of the room. I don't want to be up here getting critiqued, is what you're saying nonverbally.
Okay, well, I also really liked your speech, too. It was very heartfelt, and I think that's what a lot of us liked about it. But I would like to say that when you start your speech, like, you can switch off that you feel nervous. Like, you're very, like, you know, it doesn't seem like you're nervous when you're speaking, but, like, when you come up to the stage, like, you know, you seem nervous, and if you could just, like, you know, switch that off, like, before you come up, then, like, no one would ever guess you're nervous, and I think that would be really, and just judging from your last speech, I remember I noticed you spoke softer, but this time you projected more, so I thought that was pretty good, too. So.
Yeah, that was one of her kanais, which was good, yes. To speak louder. One thing on Matthew's comment that I want to make to all of you, I guess I should face this side of the room occasionally. It's important never to apologize when you go up to speak. Like, oh boy, I've got a cold, or oh, I was up all night partying, so I didn't get a chance to do my assignment or speak at church. What happens when you apologize to an audience? You lose credibility, they lower their expectations. Great, you're going to waste 5 minutes of my time. Thank you. Yeah, right. So don't apologize. Fake it. Fake the confidence. Fake it. As Matthew suggested, if you can get the confidence and take a deep breath before at your seat, so you just come walking up like gangbusters, then you'll be good. Let me give you some feedback, Iris. I said that for the introduction, you can start with a poem, a quote, a story, a joke, a quote from the speech, a quote from the movie even, right? A rhetorical question, which you sort of did. Okay? But this, I'm not a big fan of close your eyes and imagine. I'll just be honest with you. I don't think it's the strongest way to make a big splash on your audience. No one really wants to close their eyes when they're sitting there, you know. Ask them to do something. See? How would you classify your introduction in terms of the choices you had, and why did you make this choice, Iris? Yeah, and don't pinch your finger in reassurance. Just keep it by your side. Why did you make this choice, Iris?
I thought that because this movie is about like magic and spirits and stuff, that people would be interested to hear about.
Okay,
that
magic and
aspect
spirits.
of it.
Okay. So I'm not sure. So just some feedback. Think about it. But I would urge you to try. I'll just say that especially rhetorical questions are not the strongest way to start a speech. And so try some of the other choices that I gave. That might be, your goal is to grab your audience, draw them in, make them want to listen. And I'm not sure that intro did that, at least not for me. On the thesis, preview, perfect. On the movie review from Ken Nuttara of the LA Times, perfect. Wouldn't mind, you had the date at the bottom, but good and short quote, and you agreed, so perfect. But let's get to the real meat of your speech, which is the main body. You gave us a little plot summary. Could have been a little shorter, but then you talked about being scared, and you did an excellent job of reliving your fear of being on the mountain and flying down, and I was really right there with you. You're a very good storyteller. And, I was right there with you, losing control. I was wondering whether you were going to tumble off the mountain or what. Well, you're still here, so you didn't. But, but were you going to lose control? Were you going to skin your knee? Were you going to break your arm? So it was good. And you gave us enough detail to make it real. And you relived the situation and feelings so it was believable. So, overall, it was good. Just remember to, with the word, you buried the word scared in the middle of your last sentence instead of having it at the very end and saying, that's why coming down the mountain at Bareneck Speed, I felt so scared. But besides scared, I felt sad, and make the narrative come more alive with voice emphasis. Okay? Now, when you move, one of the things I want you to remember to do, Iris, is come to the power stance. Even when you move left, right, and back to center, right, left, and back to center, you had a good power stance in the beginning and at the end, but when you over on the right and on the left, you didn't go to the power stance. You kept your feet close together. So stay in that power stance. That keeps you from swaying, and it gives you a good, powerful platform to speak from. On sad, I already spoke about it, how you walked the razor's edge, how you told the story, and then how you told the end. You finally, after holding it inside, you broke down and finally had a catharsis at the end. It was very believable. We could see your eyes tearing up. It was a perfect job of felt sensing. It was very believable. You understood the assignment perfectly. This may seem like I'm being anal now, but I prefer you come back to center for your third point and not over to the back to the right. You came back to the center for your summary, conclusion, and tie back, and go a little bit further to the left when you walk over that way to work that side of the room, but still glance over at that side of the room so that you're not excluding them when you're talking and making eye contact on this side of the room. That's part of the reason for moving. It relaxes you, but also you can make better eye contact by working. You can look at Matthew right in the eye for 5 seconds, see? Yeah. Okay. So that was good. On hopeful. Yeah. Good story. Friend drove in from the San Fernando Valley, and gave up his day. You told him you were feeling blue, and he gave up his day to help you. And you remembered that, and remembered that in other situations. And having friends that support you and help you gives you hope. That's the same with we have family like that supports us, gives us hope to carry on, a reason to get up and get out of bed, a reason to think someone has our back and it will go okay. That was good. I want to ask you one other question, and this is a question that all of you will have to answer for yourselves. You decided to put these emotions in this order. Did you consider a different order, and why this order? And was it just how it came to you, or what the hell, this is it? Or was there thought in arranging the emotions?
I wanted to start off with like the bad emotions first and end on like a happy note.
And on a positive note. So you wanted to go with a sort of real negative one and end on a positive note. Okay, that's fair. There's some... For some scholars who look at persuasion, look at having your second strongest story second and your killer last for having the maximum impact. But I see your logic in wanting to go for the positive in the end. I want you all to notice something about Iris's summary. It wasn't just a scared, sad, and hopeful, but she reminded us of the situation that came with those three emotions, and so she gave us a flashback for us to remember. That was good. Conclusion, remember to say, everybody, because what's your central thesis, Iris? A film movie. Stop. Don't say anything more. How did it move you? Well, 3 ways. But the central point is how it moved you. So what I needed to see in your conclusion is there should be no doubt in this room, and say the movie's name again, really did move me. Okay? And your tie back was, as I said already, it was fine. You understood it. You tied back to your dream or nightmare or whatever it was, and then you made it positive about yourself. Didn't do it for me, but it was a really excellent speech other than that for me. Your canais, speak louder, make quality eye contact, and stand confidently. How'd it go? How'd it go?
I think the first one, I did hear myself louder.
Yes.
The second one, I think I did make eye contact across the room. But the third one was a bit difficult.
Okay. Well, I'm making eye contact. We're looking for 3 to 5 seconds. So practice that. And if you practice with a friend, not a mirror, and have them hold up their hands like that, and practice going for 5 seconds there and then 5 seconds there, and have them count it out, because 5 seconds, 3 to 5 seconds is a little longer than you normally think. You look at a person, yeah. If it's longer, you're stalking them. If it's shorter, you're not connecting. That's what the research says. Really excellent job, Iris. Thank you so much. Okay, that will bring us to... Do we have another A? We only have 2 A's. Is that right? Huh. Okay. Good. Good. Battery's good. Now, well, you're volunteering. I understand there are some people that want to do a respect speech. Yes, please. Let's do a respect speech. Yes, please. Thank you.
Can I borrow this?
Yes, the green meanie is there for that purpose. Okay. Oh, I didn't get the time.
5:52.
5:52?
Correct.
Ooh. Just scream it out at the
Usually,
end.
when they go like 2, you say like 2, and then like
Yeah,
they go,
yeah,
like,
do it
5.
orally. So
I
they,
don't
yeah.
want to. I'm showing that.
I'm mellow. Well, do it orally.
No. Sure.
Is that, are you too shy to do
No,
that?
I don't want to say 5.
Break
I say
their...
5, but I don't want to have them stop and then not continue and finish strong.
No, actually, you're supposed to do it countdown. So
No,
it's 4
yeah,
left,
yeah,
3
yeah.
left, 2 left,
So,
1 left.
yeah.
Half, fist this time. At 5:15 they have it. That's when they have to stop.
Yeah.
Just give them the fist, and then they know to go on. Okay. All right, Tess. Oh, you're a little taller than Iris. Okay. Tess stands before us. A half step that way, please. Thank you. Managing attention. Communicating respect. Finding friendly eyes. I hear some talking over here. Oh, and close the whole computers on in the class. What are you doing? Put away that evil phone, too. Finding friendly eyes near the front. Any more computers open? Finding friendly eyes near the front and center. Say your name. Feel the love. Start your speech.
Hi, my name is Tess.
Hi, Tess.
Today I'll be talking to you about respect and the experiment that I conducted like a few weeks ago. So respect is a quite complicated thing. It can be very contradictory in many ways. A lot of people expect respect right off the bat, but some instances require respect being earned. So I will talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly stories that came out of my experiences. So the first story is the good. I recently joined a sorority that has a lot of mandatory events and a lot of mandatory times that I have to be at certain places, and it's very hard to balance that with schoolwork, and a lot of things come up that conflict with it. So this past weekend I had been planning to go home and visit my family, and there was something that I had to do at the sorority at 5 p.m., but I wanted to leave in the morning to go home. So I had to talk to the main chair of this event. And I was kind of scared because you're not really supposed to bail out on those type of things, but I had an excuse, and I really had to talk to the person. So as I was talking to this head chair of the event, I was communicating nonverbal respect and just making sure that she understood that I really wanted to attend it, but I just couldn't. So I wasn't just pretending that I respected her. I actually did respect her. And because of that, it showed through my body language and my attentiveness, and she got that message. And because of that, she totally understood my situation. She saw it through my perspective, and she was cool that I had something else to do. And we arranged a different time that I could do the event or catch up on what I missed. So that was a really good experience for me, and that made me feel very respected. Secondly, was the bad experience. this experience didn't upset me too much, but it did make me question some things. I was raised to always open the door for people and to always say thank you after anything anyone ever does for me, and to always look at other people's situations and like see things in their perspectives and their viewpoints. Now, when I was going into my dorm building the other day, I saw a guy who was struggling to like hold his food and like scan his card and open the door. So I was like my natural instinct was just like to run over there and like help him open the door. And so I did that. And when I opened it for him, like I did not get one nod of appreciation, like a smile, like a thank you, anything. Like that's fine. Like he just went into the door and I was like, okay. So I didn't like take that too hard, but so we were both going up the same elevator, and I was like, okay, maybe I'll just like say hi and like use this experiment to like non-verbally communicate how much I respect this random stranger. And so as I was doing that, like I was trying to say hi and like how was your day, but I could just tell like right off the bat that he did not want a conversation. He was either in like a really bad mood or he just like didn't feel like talking to a random person in the elevator, and that is understandable. So that's why I see this situation not as like too bad. I didn't take it too harshly because I can see it through his perspective, and that is like a major lesson that I learned in this experiment. So lastly is the ugly. So, as a few people mentioned before me, the ugly experiences come from those who are most close to us. When I was visiting back home, I met up with a friend that I consider like really close to me, and we always talk about our problems with each other, and like she was venting to me about stuff that was going on in her life, you know, problems with like relationships, her family, all of that kind of stuff. And I'm someone who's naturally a good listener, and I want to talk, or I want to listen to everyone and offer advice. So I was like communicating that I respected her like over and over again, like just looking at her, like making eye contact, totally like giving her all my attention. And so as I was doing that, she didn't really notice that I was doing anything different because it's just natural for me to listen to people. But like after she told me her problems, I wanted to tell her mine because I thought that she was a friend that could listen to me as well. But that didn't go so well. She kind of like blew me off after she vented her problems to me, and I kind of felt disrespected because of that. I thought that like friends are supposed to like listen to each other, and like I listened to her and she wouldn't listen to me. She like went on her phone right after as I was talking to her, and she was looking around and just like not giving me any attention, and like that kind of just hurt. But overall, like I understand that she might have had some, like a lot of the stuff she was talking to me, like she had all of that going on. She might have not like felt that she could listen to me and have more problems on her plate. And like the overall lesson I learned from the good, the bad, and the ugly is that perspective is what matters the most. That is like one of the highest forms of respect in my opinion, because you have to understand where people are coming from. You need to know everyone's story. Like that's how you can, you know, communicate respect like the most. And yeah, thank you.
Great, thank you. I guess we're somewhere in the second row or something, or the first row. Mm-hmm. You can come in.
I'm Oriana.
What's your name?
Oriana.
Oriana. Hi, Oriana.
I really liked your stories. I think they were really like detailed. Like, I don't know, they were really like vivid and detailed. So I really liked that, and I could see what the point of them each was. That like one thing was ugly, one thing was bad. And, yeah.
Thank you, Oriana. Improvement. You have to wear the hat. Thank you.
Hello everyone, Roberto.
Hi, Roberto.
I think it was a good speech and you spoke very loud and clearly. So I think you could have done better, so maybe just made more eye contact because you're at first like looking down. But it makes sense, people are just recalling like the incidents.
Thank you, Roberto. That was a good comment. Yes, I noticed that. And you stand not so far, not so close to the screen, but step forward. Good, yeah. Well, Tess, I liked your speech. I liked that you did the experiment and you did it correctly, repeating the mantra and saying it, and you saw that you had a good thesis preview. So And you gave us sort of a definitional thing about 2 dimensions of respect, which was fine. I like the story about your sorority and communicating respect and it having a positive outcome. That was really excellent. We've had other. Remember, Roberto had a positive outcome from doing the same thing at his little meeting, and so it's something to really remember and to continue practicing. So I really like that story. On the bad, usually people would consider what your bad was ugly, but you're a very tolerant person, I must say. Usually it's just being ignored, which I'm sure you noticed. Most people are digitized these days, and so they do ignore other people giving off any kind of vibrations. Yeah. Opening the door and then seeing him in the elevator, it could be that he was just embarrassed at his lack of manners, but who knows? But it's kind of funny when you cut somebody off in traffic or something like that, and it turns out to be the guy that's interviewing you for a job, and then you go, whoops, shouldn't have done that. Yeah. On the ugly, yeah. I don't know about how much I would call this person a friend if this behavior continues, because this is not a friend. Friends don't pull out their phone the minute they're done venting and blow their acquaintance off. So if this is a regular reoccurrence, I would find some new friends. Just my advice. But yeah, that's just tremendously rude, and but I liked your ending, which is you were saying I need to walk 10 miles in somebody's moccasins, be understanding, and to know that you probably couldn't take any more on the plane. At some point you may realize that there are people that just parents didn't teach them good manners, and there are some people in the world that are evil, and it's sad fact of life, so it's just reality. But overall, you did the experiment nicely, and you performed it, you explained it well, so you did a good job, Tess. Thank you. Okay, any more respect speeches? Yeah, how are we doing? Oh, we got some time, yeah. Okay, hi. Okay, you're a little closer to the wall. Yeah, that's it. Half step back. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, good. Patricia is managing attention, looking around the room, making sure all computers are closed. No one's texting or reading. All eyeballs are upon you. Finding friendly eyes near the front and the center. Repeat the mantra, I respect my audience, and really mean it. Say your name, feel the love, start your speech.
Good afternoon, my name is Patricia.
Hi, Patricia.
No one wakes up in the morning thinking to themselves, man, I can't wait to be disrespected today. It is without a doubt in this world that every single person wants to be treated with respect. However, what happens when people have different notions of what respect is? The assigned experiment was to communicate nonverbal respect with everyone that I encountered, and I experienced the good, the bad, and the ugly. But by mentally repeating the mantra, I respect you, to everyone that I encountered, I realized that despite the lack of acknowledgement to my respectful gestures and warm receptions, it's still important to communicate nonverbal respect to everyone so that it will eventually catch on to those that surround you. Now, beginning with the good, my pleasant experience was in event this past Tuesday at the University Catholic Center's Women's Table Talk. I haven't been to their mass last year more than 2 times, so I realized that the only way that I was going to be welcomed in with respect and a warm welcome was if I treated them with respect first. And I did just that. I approached the people, the circles of women, with a warm smile, direct eye contact, and I was welcomed in quickly. Once inside, I maintained direct eye contact, I listened attentively, nodded in agreement, and smiled when appropriate. To my delight, everyone reflected my behavior, and I was invited to our next table talk. Moving on to the bad. Those experiences stemmed not from malice, but from ignorance. For example, I would open the door for people outside dorms, classrooms, and dining halls to have about 70% of them just walk straight past me without any verbal or nonverbal form of respect. And it did make me feel a bit underappreciated, but I just continued going on respectfully because most of them were either just on their phones, talking to their friends, or had their eyes glued to the ground. I just repeated to myself, I respect you, and continued on. Now, the other 30% were the worst. Those were the people who consciously acknowledged my respectful gestures and decided not to do anything in return. But I reminded myself, they might have just not registered my gesture as a sign of respect. So I just repeated to myself, I respect you, which I did, and I moved on. Ultimately, I learned that despite people not responding to me, it's mostly because they just don't understand the American concept of respect, especially in a diverse community like UCLA. I also learned that by repeating the mantra, I respect you, I was able to keep my cool, not be offended greatly, and just continue to do what I was supposed to be doing in the first place. All things considered, the reality of expecting everyone to pick up on your nonverbal cues is quite far-fetched, especially when it's tied to a cultural thing like respect. Also, you're going to be treated with good, bad, and like really ugly experiences no matter how you carry yourself. So you might as well carry yourself with respect, also extending that to everyone else, and repeating the mantra, I respect you, and hope that it sticks to some people and it spreads to all, eventually. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia. Here, yes, sir. What was the time?
3:17.
3:17.
I'm Kyler.
Hi, Kyler.
I liked your stories. I thought the stories were really good. And I liked your movements around the room and how you looked at the audience when you were on one side and the other side and looked at that side of the audience. So, yeah.
Improvement.
I'm Jake.
Hi, Jake.
I thought it was a really good speech. You spoke clearly. Your voice was easy to listen to. I guess if I have to make a critique, like your hand movements are somewhat distracting, but they're still really good.
They need to do something about that. Sorry, folks. Okay. Well, Patricia, I liked your speech. I like you really did the experiment and took it to heart. I loved your intro. Man, I can't wait to get disrespected today. I would have, I'm really pulling for you to say that again in your tie back and, come the full circle, but it was fine. It was a good intro. Grab me, it made me chuckle because you're so right, and I'm so right. People want to be respected, and they really do, and they really don't like being disrespected, and it sticks with them. Yeah. Your thesis preview was good. Just remember, with all the things, use a little more Ucla with your voice to make your narrative stand out. Good, bad, ugly. I like your little significant statement, but despite everything, it's still important to do. So that was good. Pardon my ignorance, but what is a table talk? You talk on tables, or you talk around a table, or what is it?
You talk around the tables. And then,
About a book, about life, or about what?
yeah, about life, about everything. It's
Oh,
not
I
just
see.
confined to religion.
I see. And how long does it last?
It was about an hour long. An
Hour long.
Half an hour.
I see. Okay. And I guess I could, if I turn, whatever. When you have, I guess you assume everyone knew what a table talk was. So when you have a foreign expression like that, define it. Yeah. On the good, you were worried because you had been a non-attender that you were going to be viewed as an apostate, and so you were worried, and so you gave off a lot of extra respect, and it was reciprocated, and that was good. I like that. By the way, just a thing about paragraphs mean different ideas. So in your main body, I should have seen 3 paragraphs, good, bad ideas, each their distinct paragraphs. Easier for you to remember, easier for me to read. And so just remember what a paragraph is supposed to do. Okay? You had one really long paragraph. Okay? Yeah. On the bad, yeah, and the ugly, I thought you were pretty understanding, all things considered. So even the people that you felt got it, you sort of forgave them or whatever, which was good, yeah. And then when you get to the what I learned, just a little more, so what did I learn, and you talked about, and I was going to ask you about this, what's the American concept of respect? Is that different in different countries, or did you mean we're a little more egalitarian here, allegedly, or what did you mean?
Well, to my understanding, it's more of just like responding back to what other people say to you,
Yeah.
both verbally and non-verbally, and also maintaining direct eye contact and just acknowledging your surroundings.
Okay, good. I got you now. Good. I liked what you learned, and I liked the fact that you talked about how important it is to continue repeating the mantra even when you're under fire or having a nail put in your hand. It's good to just be forgiving and to just say, I respect you, I respect you. That's a good response. Your summary was good, and I liked your ending to just say, yeah, it's important to keep repeating the mantra and practicing this. So I thought you did a good job reporting on the results of your experiment. Thank you.
Thank you.
317, right? Any more respect speeches? Okay. Do we have time? Yeah, we have time. Well, this will be the last one, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, my Lord, you're a little taller than Patricia. Oh, boy. Almond Joy. Okay. Okay, good. Great. Okay, Bailey Stansby for us, managing attention, communicating respect. You're swaying a little, Bailey, so lock those knees in, don't sway. Finding friendly eyes near the front and the center. Repeat the mantra, I respect my audience, as you look around and really mean it. Say your name, feel the love, start your speech.
I'm Bailey.
Hi, Bailey.
Over the past week, I communicated nonverbal respect to everyone I met. I did this by maintaining eye contact, giving them my undivided attention, and asking follow-up questions to what they said to me. I had high hopes for this experiment because I expected most people to react well. When I initiated the respect, most people did indeed return the same respect that I gave them. For example, over this past weekend, before my water polo game at UC Irvine, I introduced myself to one of my teammates' parents. I initiated the conversation by using the Mr. and Mrs. prefixes, and then I continued to have a short 5-minute conversation with them about the team and the season. I could tell that they liked me based on their responses and their body language. My assumptions of this were correct because later that day my mom received a text from them telling her how impressed they were with my manners and my maturity level. This was the kind of responses that I expected when I started with this experiment. Although none of my experiences were overtly negative, not all of them were as successful. For example, when I introduced myself to a football player in one of my classes, when I asked him how his classes were going, when he started to respond to me, he was distracted by one of his teammates and then left abruptly without finishing the conversation. I wasn't upset about this because I understood that he probably did indeed need to go to practice with his teammate because he could have been late, but I would have preferred for him to finish the conversation before he left. Finally, although I wouldn't have considered any of my experiences to have been ugly, the worst one was when I was waiting in line for food. I was sitting there with nothing else to do, so I asked the person in front of me how his day was going. He responded good, and then immediately took out his phone and didn't look up again. I understood this because he probably was just shy about having a conversation with a stranger, but he didn't give me the same respect that I gave him. Overall, I learned that showing people respect and being nice to people allows me to have many more friendly acquaintances and to have more people will enjoy being around me. Thank you.
What'd you like?
Tim.
Hi, Tim.
You really had to do a good job of moving around purposely and the 3 different parts of your speech from one side of the room to the other.
Okay. Improvement?
I think it was
Name?
good. Sydney.
Hi,
I think
Sydney.
it was a good speech. I would use a few less filler words. Why?
Great. It's very useful comment for you, Bailey, and you'll be able to see it on tape tonight on YouTube. So watch that, and when you practice with a friend, have them raise their hand every time you say or like, and you will gradually stop using it so much as a transitional device. Okay? Liked your speech. I could tell you're nervous and not used to doing this. One thing I would like a little more following the instructions of the prompt, I would have liked a preview, a thesis statement, a roadmap of telling your audience where you're going to go and what you're going to say. So, everyone said the good, the bad, the ugly. It doesn't have to be the good, the bad, the ugly. It can be any 3 things you want to talk about. But give us a roadmap, see? So that's the first thing. Then you told us about the good, where you met a teammate. You're apparently on the water polo team, and you introduced yourself to a teammate's parents, and you were very polite, and you called them by Mr. and Mrs., and you were respectful, and I hope you were repeating the mantra, I respect you, as you were talking to them. Yeah. And she texted your mother and said that she thought you had excellent manners and a great maturity level. And that's always good to hear. Parents like to hear those things about their children. So good for you. On the football player that blew you off, so to speak, because he didn't want to talk about Chicano Studies 10, History 8, and Scan 50, whatever that means, and he just left you in a lurch, and you felt a little offended by that. That's when he walked away. You need to repeat, I respect you, his mantra, and it's just your mantra, and it's apparently he just felt he needed to be with his football buddies or something. But I warned you that people aren't going to get it, aren't going to ignore you. You know, that this is just going to happen when you're repeating the mantra. See? Yeah. On the ugly, what you did was you used verbal to start a friendly conversation. I don't know if you started with the nonverbal, the mantra, but that's okay. We said there was going to be a combination of the verbal and nonverbal. Repeating the mantra sometimes will inspire you to say, so how's your day, or how's it going, or give a nod, you know. So that was fine, but this fella or girl or whoever it was didn't take to it and just pulled out their phone as an excuse to say, to blow you off in a polite way, I guess you say. Well, I got important business on this phone, you know. Yeah. So, but it was a good story. Now remember, you needed to summarize. So I told you the good, the bad, the ugly. You got to say with an extra oomph in your voice, what did I learn? And then take it from there. Oh, I got to turn this off.